This is the new VW Tiguan, and probably the biggest changes are inside, because look, buttons are back. This new infotainment system has been massively reworked from what VW was using before, and now you also have backlit climate controls so you can actually see what these do at night. But what else is new? In this video, we're running through everything that's new with the VW Tiguan. But before we start, go to whatcar.com for a great deal on your next car, and to see lots more videos like this, subscribe to our channel. The VW Tiguan first appeared in 2007 as the German manufacturer's first compact SUV, looking to enter the quickly growing market dominated at the time by the Nissan Qashqai. It sat on the same platform as the Golf and managed to combine all the practicality and flexibility expected of an SUV while still holding on to VW's strengths of quality and refinement. We then had a second generation model in 2016, which increased in size and price, but was still a very recommendable SUV throughout its life, offering a similar blend of strengths to the first generation car. And now we have the third generation VW Tiguan. On the outside, it's had a similar styling treatment to the recently announced VW Passat, a car which the Tiguan shares many new parts with. The new SUV has new slim headlights, a large lower grille, and a lighting strip that stretches the width of the rear. While it looks different, the size and shape haven't changed a whole lot. The new model is 30mm longer and 4mm taller than before, but the wheelbase, which is the distance between the front and rear wheels, is exactly the same as it was before. So it means sat in these rear seats, just like in the previous model really, it is very comfortable in the back. An adult can sit in the rear and have lots of space to stretch out their legs. It's very impressive in that regard, certainly. Headroom in this model that's got the optional sunroof fitted is still okay, but obviously it reduces the amount of headroom compared to a model that doesn't have this sunroof fitted. Now, you used to be able to get a 7-seat version of the Tiguan called the Tiguan Allspace, but that has been axed for this third generation of car. And instead, it's expected that that will be replaced by an entirely new model called the VW Tayron. The boot has grown by 37 litres compared to the old car, offering a total of 652 litres. It was already a very big boot, and now it looks even better compared to its rivals with this third generation model. The plug-in hybrid versions of this car will get a slightly smaller boot than the non-plug-in hybrid versions, by the way. It's the underfloor storage area that will be slightly reduced, but we don't yet know by exactly how much. But now let's talk about the engines, starting with the plug-in hybrid, which has had a huge reworking compared to the previous model. Now it's based around the 1.5 litre engine from the new E-TSI models, instead of the older 1.4 litre unit. There will be two front-wheel drive E-hybrid models to choose from, one with 201 brake horsepower and the other with 268 brake horsepower. Those are very similar power outputs to before, but the bigger change is with a new 19.7 kWh battery. This means the official range of the plug-in hybrid is up to 62 miles. You also have the ability to charge up at CCS public chargers and get up to 50 kilowatts, something which is pretty rare for plug-in hybrids. This will get you a 10 to 80% top-up in 25 minutes. The new battery can also AC charge at 11 kilowatts, whereas the old model could only manage 3.6 kilowatts. That means if you're charging up at home, then it will be much quicker to do so than in the old model. In fact, it drops the time to go from flat to full from 3.5 hours down to 2 hours. That 1.5 litre engine is also available as a mild hybrid. Badged E-TSI, it uses a 48-volt electric motor to boost power, improving efficiency when pulling away, and unlike some mild hybrid setups, it enables the Tiguan to travel on electric power alone, but that's only for short distances. It can also shut down 2 of its 4 cylinders when cruising to help reduce fuel consumption. A 2-litre petrol engine will also be offered with 192 brake horsepower or 261 brake horsepower. The former gets front-wheel drive, the latter gets VW's 4Motion 4-wheel drive setup. There will also be two 2-litre diesel engines with 148 brake horsepower and 190 brake horsepower, respectively. Again, the lower powered diesel is front-wheel drive, the higher gets 4-wheel drive. Petrol and diesel Tiguans use a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic gearbox. with the plug-in hybrids running a 6-speed version of that gearbox. There is no manual option. Underneath the Tiguan, it sits on an updated platform with some reworked suspension with the aim of improving how it drives. The options list will include Volkswagen's Dynamic Chassis Control Pro, which lets you alter the suspension setup yourself across a choice of 15 different settings. Now, back to the interior, and as we said at the start, physical buttons are back with the new Tiguan, because if you remember with the previous car and with lots of other new VW products, instead of physical buttons on the steering wheel, they were replaced with touch-sensitive ones, which were fiddly, they were criticised by reviewers, and because of customer feedback as well, VW's decided to go back to having physical buttons instead, which is a big step forwards for usability in this car. Certainly this setup is a big improvement on the touch-sensitive one from before, so that's great. We also mentioned there's a new infotainment system in here. This is the bigger 15-inch screen that you can get with the Tiguan, but as standard you get a 12.9-inch screen. Now this runs MIB4, which is not the new Men in Black film, but it's VW's latest infotainment system. So the software that it gives you and the layout that it has been tweaked from before, so some elements to it are different, it's got a slightly different layout, but it's not a world away from the previous infotainment setup. Instead, it's just all on a bigger scale because you've now got these bigger screens to present it all on. And of course, maybe the best change of all is the fact that you've got backlit climate controls and volume sliders as well. You also get a 10.3-inch digital driver display as standard, and if you look down here, you will notice there is now a rotary dial, but this isn't like BMW's iDrive infotainment system. So what this rotary dial does is control the volume. If you click it in, you can also cycle through some different drive modes, and you can also swipe across to then cycle through some different atmospheres, which are basically just pre-programmed settings to essentially change things like the ambient interior lighting. So it is good to have, but it does also seem like a bit of a shame and maybe a bit of a waste that you've got this physical rotary dial down here, but it doesn't make controlling this infotainment system any easier, because all it does is change the volume really. There are apparently some new materials inside as well, but to be honest, the quality inside doesn't feel very premium. While there are some soft touch materials around, there are also a lot of hard plastics too. And the build quality generally seems to be another example that VW just isn't as good in this department as it used to be. You've also got a different layout with the new VW Tiguan here. So you can see on the center console, you've got this kind of dual layer thing, which gives you some wireless phone charging underneath it. You've also got a storage compartment with these removable cup holder divider type things. And then underneath the armrest, you also have 2 more cup holders, which again, you can take out and remove entirely. Prices are yet to be confirmed, but are expected to rise by quite a bit compared to the current car. That means a starting price around £37,000 is likely, with higher trim levels obviously pushing the price up more. That's quite a bit more expensive than the starting prices of other SUV rivals, including the Kia Sportage and Ford Kuga. But we'll have to reserve judgment until we get full pricing confirmed closer to this car's launch in the UK. The Tiguan has never really been a cheap car, but that hasn't stopped it being VW's best-selling car globally. Since its introduction back in 2007, it has regularly been at the top of VW's sales charts. 7.5 million of them have been produced to date, including 1.2 million in the past 2 years alone. In the UK though, it's VW's third bestseller, behind only the Golf and the T-Roc. But what's next for the Tiguan? Well, a performance-focused Tiguan R is in the works, and it's expected to run the latest 315 brake horsepower version of VW's turbocharged 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine used by the existing Golf R. And we will see a fully electric version of the Tiguan in the future, sitting alongside the ID4 and ID5, rather than replacing those electric SUVs. And if you want to see our review of the ID5, then click on the link at the top of the screen. So that is everything you need to know about the new VW Tiguan. Tell us what you think of the changes in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see another one, then click there. And if you want a great deal on your next car, go to our website whatcar.com by clicking there.